Kate, we're here today to talk about Green Ribbon Month this year and mental health in Ireland in general. Could you tell me first of all who runs Green Ribbon Month in Ireland, when it started, and can you tell me if there's any particular reason the campaign is celebrated in May every year?
Okay, so the Green Ribbon campaign is run by Sea Change. Sea Change is a partnership of 90 organisations across the country, and the main reason behind the campaign is to start conversation about mental health on a national level in order to combat stigma. Stigma is one of the main reasons why people who experience mental health difficulties don't seek help. So we found that it's a very important thing to do in terms of encouraging that conversation and making sure that people out there kind of accept mental health and those who experience mental ill health as it being kind of a normal part of everyday life. Not exactly sure why it's run during May. It was just I
think it's actually an internationally it's the month for mental health, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, actually that would make sense. Yeah, it does. Even though we have, Mental Health Week and Suicide Prevention Week, they're taking place in September and October. But yeah, it is kind of, I suppose, a month dedicated to it. It's also kind of in tangent with other there's other things taking place this month as well. Cycle Against Suicide usually takes place during this month, Darkness into Light, big campaigns like that. So a lot of other organisations have kind of fallen in with that kind of month has been earmarked for mental health and followed suit there. So yeah, it's a good time of the year as well to try and engage in kind of positive activities. We have our walk and talk events ourselves, which take place outside in conjunction with the likes of the IFA and Cuilta as well. So that's all about trying to get people out and about, engaging in conversation as well, and realising that mental health conversation can be a part of ordinary conversation as well. We would always say to people, if you want to talk about someone how someone's feeling or what they're going through or anything, try to make it as part of an ordinary conversation, that you don't always have to make everything you speak about be about mental health.
When did the campaign start in Ireland?
So this is our 5th year. So the first campaign was in May 2013, and it's their 5th year. It's also our largest year, really. We ran out of our ribbons within the first 2 weeks of the end of the first week of the campaign. We distribute 500,000 green ribbons across the country in conjunction with our distribution partners. So we have Irish Rail have been on board with us for a number of years. So all of our green ribbons have been available at major Irish railway stations across the country. Also this year we had the help of Boots stores across the country. So they have 86 stores. So that really helped us to expand and try to get our message beyond, Dublin, Leinster, because we're based here obviously in Maynooth. So that was a really big help to get them on board. And as well, it shows that, big companies are also interested in doing something to help people start their conversation and realising that it's important for society as a whole to engage in that too. So.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how the campaign has grown in the last 5 years. But I think you've kind of already answered that. Okay. We're here in Maynooth today. This is the headquarters. Is it true that the organisation you work for Shine, full time? Can you tell me how long you're working with Shine?
I myself am working for Shine for nearly 2 years. I've been in my current role for just over a year now. So I started before the campaign last year, so it was kind of a baptism of fire really to be thrown into the biggest campaign that we run. But Shine is a service provider, and so it supports people and their families who experience mental ill health. And I suppose Sea Change was born again out of that whole idea of, we don't want people not to come to the door because they're afraid of what their neighbour thinks or someone in their workplace thinks, or even a very close friend or family member thinks, because they're not engaging in conversation about mental health and it hasn't become a normalised thing for them. Mental health difficulties are part and parcel of everyday life, and that's where we want them to be viewed. So again, it kind of it was a natural progression to decide to do a stigma reduction campaign, and there are other campaigns like it. I mean, the green ribbon is an international symbol, and we've kind of adopted it here in Ireland and started doing the green ribbon campaign here, but it does exist in other countries. So, at an international level, it has been identified as a big issue.
Yeah, I know you and Shine carry out research occasionally. Could you give us some indicators as to what your research shows regards attitudes to mental health in Ireland today compared to in the past?
Okay, so what we've done this year is we did a national omnibus survey on the beliefs, behaviours and attitudes towards mental health. And that was funded by the National Office for Suicide Prevention. So the National Office for Suicide Prevention have identified one of their key goals as being stigma reduction, and Sea Change would be the main kind of programme or project dedicated to fulfilling that goal. So we get our funding for that from NOSP. So what?
That's
the National Office for Suicide Prevention. So what our research has shown this year is approximately 4 in 10 people would conceal a mental health difficulty. So it's actually about 38%. And then when we move into the age group, say people who are 35 years and younger, it's a bit higher. It's 42%. Whereas when you go to say 65 plus, those age groups, they're less likely to conceal than someone who's age 35. So
I would have thought it'd been the opposite.
Yeah, I kind of thought that myself for other reasons, but for whatever, I don't want to speculate too much, because again, these are the type of studies that if you really, you could go and do some more research on it. You could just concentrate on one demographic and try to get good insights into that. But I suppose initially when Sea Change started out, what they did again was kind of a national omnibus survey, and it was kind of a benchmark study. So it was to help identify our target audiences. So the Sea Change project has identified young males, farmers and people in the rural community, and people in the workplace as kind of the main groups or demographics or places where stigma can affect people more so than in other areas. So young men are more at risk of concealing a mental health difficulty, so are farmers and people in the rural community and people in the workplace. And in the workplace, it's for reasons as, I suppose discrimination, worries about being kept on, worries about being promoted or not being promoted because they've revealed about having or experiencing mental health difficulties in the past or present or ongoing or whatever. So those have been identified. I think this year as well, we notice in the rural community that has kind of stayed in line with previous years. People are still kind of more, compared to what you'd call a built-up area or an urban setting, people in the rural community are finding it more difficult to be open about their mental health difficulties. And yet we're seeing other signs that they can be more compassionate towards others who experience those difficulties, particularly people in the farming industry. So, it's kind of one of those areas that it's how long is a piece of string? It's so complicated. You could get, again, more and more research done, but we're finding year on year when we do our impact report, like say last year, we'll be doing an impact report on the Green Ribbon this year too, but last year we found that 9 in 10 people were encouraged to speak about mental health, and they felt it was important to speak about mental health, and 7 in 10 felt encouraged directly because of the actions of the Green Ribbon campaign.
Looking back, though, over decades, the stories I've heard and read in books and in documentaries and all about mental health in Ireland and internationally up until the 50s, say, like in Ireland, for example, I believe we had more people in mental health institutions, long-term patients in institutions than per capita basis than any country in the world, I believe. So things have improved hugely. I think in the last few years, since the recession is officially over now in Ireland, but I think the recession was a wake-up call to a lot of people, like political parties and all that kind of stuff. If you look now, like if a government minister does something, a bad decision about mental health, like there's always people giving out about it, like in the Dáil and the Seanad and in the media, and there's organisations like ourselves and other organisations like Dual Diagnosis Ireland and Alcohol Front as well, Alcohol Action Ireland. I think things have improved hugely, but and people's expectations have improved hugely, but there's still a long way to go. Are there any specific things like your campaign is calling for, or is it just a general kind of overall picture or kind of a thing? Like,
I suppose, the specific thing is that, we work on a contact theory basis. So basically we have 80 ambassadors. They all have experience of mental health difficulties, and they're sharing their stories. So they're doing media interviews, they're speaking in boardrooms, they're helping to deliver our See Change in the Workplace programme, they're visiting community centres, other organisations, the local GA clubs all across the country, and they're sharing their experience. And the whole idea behind this is that some people who aren't directly affected by mental health difficulties, or, more than likely we all know somebody. I mean, that's what the statistics are showing, but you might not necessarily have full knowledge of what that person is experiencing. But the whole idea is that when the person, rather than the label, when you hear the person speaking about their experience, it makes it a lot more real for people and relatable for people, because you start to view that person of, they're a son or a daughter, an auntie or an uncle, and they work maybe in a similar place to me, or maybe they haven't been able to work because of their difficulties, and other people can relate to that. So they start seeing it as a human experience as opposed to maybe a kind of a medicalised experience. And that's very important, because it's the main way and the most effective way that research shows that people can start to challenge the kind of their own, beliefs and attitudes toward mental health by seeing this very human experience, and by people telling their story. So that's the kind of the main theory behind the campaign. But that kind of conversation, that kind of experience sharing, we'd like to see that happening, not only what we're doing, but among families and things like that, where maybe they know somebody's been experiencing difficulty, but they haven't really been able to, or haven't felt that they have the knowledge to talk about it. But what we would always say is you don't need to be an expert to talk about mental health, because mental health is a human experience. And I think for some time people have felt that because maybe they don't have direct experience, or maybe because they think that they have to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or somebody in the kind of a mental health professional, they feel as if they're not adequately equipped. But we want to kind of let people know that it is about just being open to sometimes listening, because again, not everybody is in a position where they want to hear advice all the time. They just want someone to listen to what their experience has been, and just to kind of be in that supportive role, and never forget the power of listening to somebody who is going through a tough time. So that's the main thing as well. We want to kind of start this national conversation. Of course, that national conversation is going to be made up of lots of smaller conversations between family, friends, in the workplace and everything like that. So that's the main thing. We'd ask as well people to wear the green ribbon, to show that you're open to that conversation. And we know from our ambassadors, when they see other people wearing the green ribbon, they just they feel so positive then, because they know that things are changing, and it's a visible symbol for them that the conversation has shifted. And look, and every time they see the green ribbon, they just say that's another person who is open to this, and they don't feel so alone then, because experiencing mental health difficulties can be a very isolating experience for people.
I understand that there's only 1 week left in this year's Green Ribbon Month, and you mentioned there if people want, our listeners want to support the campaign, you can wear the green ribbon. Is there anything else, any other activities like people can do over the next week? And could you just kind of tell us about the activities you've had so far over the last 3 weeks, so people are more au fait, like for next year's campaign?
Yeah, there's a couple of things we've had going on during this month. We've had kind of distribution days and mental health information days in conjunction with our partner Inroad Éireann or Irish Rail, and also other partners have been involved. So it was kind of like a mental health fair, I suppose is the best way. So people, commuters, or people just kind of in the stations could find out more about different mental health kind of organisations like Bodywise, who support people affected by eating disorders. We had AHA, who work with people to kind of, educate them about alcohol consumption. We had Shine, of course, who support people affected by mental ill health. And then, of course, ourselves and other organisations as well. I apologise now if I'm leaving anybody else. But they ran in not in Pearse Station, in Connolly Station and in Houston Station. And this week in Pearse Station on Friday morning, we'll be distributing ribbons as well to people using the train station there. This week I'm attending myself a walk and talk in Emo Court in County Laois, and that's in conjunction with Mental Health Ireland, also Cuilcha and IFA. And they've been really supportive of the campaign year on year, and every year we kind of do walk and talk. So that is the last walk and talk. So if you're interested in walking and you don't mind taking a spin down to County Laois at the weekend, do join us. It's on the 28th. You can find out more information about that on our website, www.greenribbon.ie. There's lots and lots of events going on. I think the best port of call, because I'm going to forget things, is actually to just go to the website and find those things out. But we want to kind of make people feel that you don't have to go to one of these big events. You can organise something yourselves, even if it's a coffee morning in work, if it's something in a community centre. If you want to get in touch with us, if you want an ambassador to speak at any kind of event that you're running yourselves, just email info@seechange.ie. And we can see if it will work out. But yeah, it is the last week of the campaign coming up. But again, we hope that it will be bigger and better again in 2018. And we just want to say thank you to everybody who's been involved in Near FM for having us on. This is the second time this month, so I'm really happy as well to get the support, because it's very important that it does happen from grassroots level.